Hello friends, today we are going to be talking all about a topic that comes up a lot in sessions with coachees and also just generally in recovery related conversation, and that is food indecision, how to navigate the times in recovery that come up a lot where you can't decide what to have. Maybe it's in general, you're just struggling to make those decisions. Maybe it's that point where you recognize you're hungry and you think, right, what I need to do is honor this. You then go into the kitchen and suddenly you are met with a washing machine brain, or maybe you're just met with absolute blankness. And there's that sudden sort of, oh, I don't know what to have. And I wanted to share with you some of the key things that made a difference to me in my recovery in navigating food indecision. So let's jump right in. First of all, I think it's really important to recognize that when making decisions around food starts to feel complicated, it's often because eating disorder is getting involved. A big part of the destination of recovery is a place where food is simple, where decisions around food are simple. And so I think, first of all, when you notice any form of indecision around food, I think it helps to take a step back and to recognize the fact that this is feeling confusing, the fact that there is this washing machine of thoughts, the fact that there is so many different things coming from all sorts of different directions. This in itself, this complication, is an indicator of the eating disorder showing up. And we come back to that core recovery thing of opposite actions and marching head first into it. Where in recovery around food indecision there is resistance, like with any other area of recovery, you have to be marching into it. The solution is not to go into that kitchen and have the blankness or the washing machine brain and go, oh, and then leave. Does that happen? Yeah. Am I going to sit here and pretend that every single time in my recovery that I struggled with indecision around food, that I just did the opposite thing and marched on through and got it exactly right? No. We're not swapping the perfectionism of an eating disorder for perfectionism in recovery. That's not what this is about. But what it is about is recognizing where these things are happening, learning from them, gathering things up as you go, and looking at how you can be setting yourself up to win. So that first point is simply recognizing that where things feel complicated, it is very likely that eating disorder is showing up. And so one of the first things you can do is just take that little bit of a step back and get curious about where and how the eating disorder is showing up. Is it showing up in the form of having resistance to a specific kind of food? Maybe you've had a bit of a plan of action, you've got something you were going to challenge, you get into the environment and suddenly you've got this indecision brewing and it's like, oh, I don't know if I actually want that thing anymore. Is it showing up like that? And of course, the thing you have to do in that setting is you follow the commitment that you had set prior to getting into the situation. You follow through with that commitment. Is it showing up as in you have recognized that you are hungry? You've gone into the kitchen or to wherever it is that there is food, and suddenly there is this washing machine going on in your brain of this and that and how and what you had earlier and what you had later and how to. Is it showing up like that? Is it making things complicated to try and drive a sort of, oh, I don't know what to have, oh, I can't be bothered, let's just pull away from that? And of course, in that situation, what you need to do is bring yourself back into the now and go, no, the simple truth is I'm hungry. This is eating disorder resistance. I need to march head first into that. And there are the things that you can be doing to set yourself up to win in those settings. So I wanted to jump in now to some of the practical things that really helped me. First off, applying something I call and not or. One of the things I really noticed, particularly in that washing machine head place, which was usually my body saying, I want everything, and eating disorder going, no, blah, 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 various different versions of no. And something I found really helpful was applying and not or, particularly if I was in a point where I would have a few different options that were going around my head of sort of, oh, I kind of want the cheesecake, but then also that chocolate cake looks quite good. Oh, I would apply and not or. And what that means is, both. This was something I found super helpful, and I'm sure I've spoken about it in various different videos, but it was really something that helped me a great deal in cutting through the indecision. I would notice, actually, I don't need to choose between those 2 things or those 3 things or whatever number of things it was. I can have them all. Next is something that I alluded to just a few moments ago, my go-tos or my tin of abundance. I have definitely done a video on the tin of abundance, and I think I've probably spoken about go-tos before. But in short, what this means is it was something that I would have that if I was in a point where that washing machine was going on in my head and I couldn't make the decision, I would have some simple, quick things that were challenging, that my eating disorder did not approve of, that I knew I could just grab really quickly. Things like big bowl of granola, toast, and also that tin of abundance, which for me, as I say, I've done a video, I will link that below, but it was basically just a tin full of chocolates and cakes and biscuits and all sorts of stuff like that. And what I would do is if I got to that point where I thought, oh no, I don't know, I can't choose, there's all these different things going on, but eating disorder's coming up with all, and I felt like I was just piggy in the middle of this huge storm, I would utilize my go-tos. I'd be like, right, I'm not sure, I'm just going to have one of these things. And I would start with that. And very often that almost was a catalyst for my body being able to come to the surface and speak through the eating disorder noise. And this was something I found really helpful in navigating that indecision and pushing through that piggy in the middle situation. Another tip would be pick something challenging. If you're in a situation and you recognize that there's various different options and you can't decide which one, best bet, a really solid bet, is go for the thing that is the most challenging option. That is the thing that is most powerfully going to be helping you to rewire your brain. And often hand in hand with that, because it is the stuff that eating disorder disapproves of that best aligns with the recovery, it's also going to be more supportive of the nutritional rehabilitation aspect as well. So where there is indecision, go with the most challenging thing first. Another thing I found really helpful in recovery was a mantra of, if in doubt, eat. And this was something that when I was in that place of washing machine, I'd recognized, I think I'm hungry, I need to go and get something, but then instantly there's that eating disorder resistance, which just chucks loads of stuff up that creates doubt around, am I really hungry? Do I actually want something? Am I just bored? Is it this? Have I had enough already? What about, there's just all of those thoughts going around. I applied, if in doubt, eat. And that was something that really helped me to just cut through the noise and go, okay, I'm thinking about food. Food is the topic here in terms of my mental space, in terms of my brain and internal conversation. Therefore, I'm hungry. And actually, it just really helped as a short, sweet, if in doubt, eat. And I did honestly find that so supportive in various different settings in recovery, in various different situations, including this one, including this topic of having indecision or not being sure about what to eat, or also about whether or not I was hungry. So if in doubt, eat. Now, something that we cannot discuss this topic without also addressing is the fact that often a significant player in the complicatedness, in the indecision around food, is that pedestal of perfection. Now, I know I've spoken about this in various different settings, but in short, when your body is in food scarcity mode, when it believes that food is scarce through what you have taught it with your actions, it very often puts food up on a pedestal. And what this presents itself as is a real resistance to food that is in some way or any way imperfect, particularly the foods that are challenging, particularly the foods that the eating disorder disapproves of on some or all levels. Those foods in particular can go right up there on that pedestal. And basically, not only does the food have to be perfect, the environment often has to be perfect, the situation has to be perfect, the way you're feeling has to be perfect. There's just this almost ritualistic approach towards food and that innate desire for everything to be just right so that you can enjoy this thing. It's like your body is in this is my last meal mode, like everything has to be right. And for obvious reasons, this can contribute significantly to that food indecision. And so therefore, something that you have to do very proactively in recovery is to dismantle that pedestal, to make yourself, to force yourself to eat foods that are imperfect, particularly the foods that your eating disorder disapproves of, to eat them in imperfect ways, at imperfect times, to eat imperfect versions of those things. Pushing yourself to do that is absolutely imperative, and it is a big factor in pushing through that indecisiveness. Really reminding yourself that food does not have to be perfect, that you have unconditional permission to eat without restriction today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. And so that pedestal of perfection, it isn't relevant any longer. And in recovery, you have to communicate that message to your brain through your actions. So that brings us very nicely onto the last couple of points that I wanted to make around this topic. Firstly, a big part of this is that deep acceptance that you have unconditional permission to eat without restriction and to action abundance. And that is something that you need to communicate to your brain and body through your actions. Actions come first. By actioning that truth with time and consistency, that will begin to trickle and ripple through your thoughts and your beliefs. And finally, recognizing if your body wants it all, that is okay. A huge thing for me in my recovery journey was deeply accepting that actually when I was in that washing machine brain place, like I said earlier, that piggy in the middle, the truth on my body's side was that it wanted everything. It wanted all of the things. It wants to go to McDonald's and to the fish and chip shop, and it wants to get the cake from the shop, and it also wants to go to the bakery, and it wants to get that tin of abundance out, and it wants to have big bowls of cereal, and it wants to have more of that cake from more of that shop, and that it wanted all of it. And something I had to do in my journey was to accept that that was okay, that that was normal, that that was natural, and that that was what needed to happen. And in order to do that, I had to drop the judgment. And dropping the judgment wasn't something I just did in my thoughts. It was something I had to action. I had to action it in order for it to trickle and ripple through to my thoughts and my beliefs. I had to force myself to act as if I had no judgment around my hunger. I had to force myself to act as if I had unconditional permission to eat without restriction. And it was by doing this that I dropped the judgment. By taking the action, I was able to move to a place where that judgment started to dissipate, and in its place was an acceptance that this was what I needed to be doing. So if your body wants it all, that's okay. Lean into that. Feasting, as I have said many a time on this channel, is a totally normal and natural response from the body when it is in recovery from a period of restriction. Totally normal, totally natural, and you can trust your body to do what it needs to do to heal, restore, repair, and recover. So, I hope that this has been helpful. It's felt like a whistle-stop tour of the various different things that helped me to navigate food indecision in recovery. As always, I am so grateful to each and every one of you for your love and support of this channel. It really does mean the world to me. So, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.